Alright everybody, welcome again. I got another video for you. But before we start, I do have to give you a little bit of bad news. My job has decided to fuck me royally. For the next 3 weeks, I'm working very far away from my house and a whole lot of hours. So I'm not going to be able to bring you videos at the rate that I have been in the past. And the videos that I do bring you will most likely be quite a bit shorter and will not have as much time and effort put into them. I just don't have the time to do that. Like, I won't even be able to post polls like I have in the past. If I do, I'll have to like schedule the poll to release earlier before I go to work, because once I'm at work, that's it. I won't be able to interact with the channel at all. So yes, I know it sucks, but it really shouldn't last that long. Only the first or second week of June, and then everything should go back to normal. But until then, if it seems like I'm very absent from the channel, that's why. It's not like I'm not going to get any new stuff out. It's just going to be significantly less than normal. So for the next few weeks, smaller videos from me. I'm sorry, it sucks, but it is temporary. So enough bad news for today. What is this video about? It's just a bunch of random bullshit I saw on TV. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm not really much of an anime guy. I'm a big TV guy, and a lot of that TV I watch does happen to be anime, but I'm not one of these people who has to go out and see all of the new anime that come out every season. Like, in my entire life, I may have seen 50 or 100 different anime. But over the weekend, a friend of mine gave me his Crunchyroll password, so I just started checking out a bunch of shit that came out recently, and this video is just me talking about it, really. To be honest, I don't even know what I'm gonna title this video, because I don't think a list of random bullshit I saw over the weekend is a particularly good title. It might be. I don't know. We'll see. Also, be aware that these are my responses to these shows as they are now, which only have about 5 or 6 episodes each. So if I seem really negative about a show that you've read the manga of and you know gets way better, don't get really frustrated with me. I'm aware that I am not far enough in any of these shows to give a proper critique. These are really just my initial thoughts after watching the first couple episodes. I'm aware that it is entirely possible that all of my issues with the shows might be completely gone by the end of season 1. Just know that going in. So first up, we got Windbreaker, which I liked a lot. Not only because it's a really, really good series, but I'm sort of naturally inclined to like these types of shows because it reminds me a lot, more than I think anyone would care to admit, of my childhood. And I think a lot of young boys' childhoods when they were in public school in the Deep South during the 90s. I have so many stories of me, friends of mine, and people that I didn't like very much basically forming different gangs and going in these sort of underground school fight club type things for dominance over different sections of the school that happened pretty much throughout all of grade school, all of middle school, and the very beginning of high school. It kind of teeters out after high school because in high school it goes from being like fist fights to starting to bring knives and guns and shit, and it becomes like legitimate gang violence. So if you continue that shit in the older years, you just became a straight up gang member, which I did not. But in grade school and middle school, this shit happens constantly, and stories like Windbreaker don't really seem that over the top. I mean, I remember one time when I was a kid, I got into it with this group called the White People. Not a very creative name. They were a group of 4 boys who were white supremacists, and they were known for causing all sorts of issues. They made money selling weed in the school, but they were also very openly violent to pretty much anyone they didn't like, and they were essentially just bullies throughout the school. One day they ended up jumping me in the middle of a field, and I got beat so bad that my legs went numb, and I was just sitting there like staring at the sky waiting for me to be able to move my legs again for several hours. Eventually I could move and I got up and just walked home, but it was like dark. And this event later on snowballed into several different conflicts between me, them, and a bunch of other people, where you saw like constant fights throughout the whole school, including one where I jumped the gang leader in the bathroom and actually stuck his head in a toilet and put my foot on the top of his head trying to drown him, like legitimately, before getting pulled off by a bunch of guys in the locker room. And that was like several months of drama there. But I have literally hundreds of stories of just different conflicts that I would have with other groups and gangs and things like this, and my friends would come together and then we would sort of be considered a gang, although I never really liked seeing us as one, and it was just constant. I would probably say it started in around 3rd grade and ended in around 9th grade. And if you were to take that time in my life and make a show out of it, it would probably look something very similar to Windbreaker. It was just a bunch of young boys obsessed with violence and fighting, with the teachers being completely oblivious to anything that was going on. And I think if people were to see something like that today going on in our schools, it would really scare the shit out of them. But at the time, it just seemed so normal normal to me and pretty much everybody else. I mean, it probably shouldn't have, because between grade school and high school, I went to 11 different schools, and most of that was because of getting kicked out for fighting, so probably not as normal as I thought it was at the time. But seriously, I can make a whole video series about just different stories of me getting into different conflicts with tons of other people, or other people that I knew getting into conflicts with other people. Fascinating stories, like Game of Thrones in school with a bunch of young boys. Shit's fucking wild. I can call it Windbreaker True Stories. I actually like this idea. I might do this. I don't know. I'll think about it. If that's something y'all are interested in, like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. Reiterate that information to me that is something that you want. Because that might actually be a video series that doesn't take that long to make individual videos for, and I can do them for these next few weeks. I don't know. Let me know. Anyway, back to the show. It's really good. So far, in just the first 6 episodes, they've gotten me to like pretty much all of the main characters, as well as shown us some beautiful fight animation. The only thing so far that's kind of a bummer for me is that they do like a tournament arc in these first couple of episodes, sort of. It's like kind of a meh tournament arc. It's really just 4 fights where each fight ends like very anticlimactically, and it's not really a full-on tournament arc, and I kind of wish it was. It's more of a nitpick from me because I really enjoy tournament arcs, but I just think it's weird that they have a tournament arc structure, but then they don't really do a full-fledged tournament arc. Like, really, this arc is just here to show how strong all the main characters are, and they kind of bitch mode all the people they're fighting against. And I personally got really excited when they started setting up a tournament arc, just for them to have the tournament arc not really be a tournament arc. It's not bad, and like I said, it's not really a negative of the show. It was just something that kind of bummed me out. But for what this arc ends up being, it is still pretty good. It does do its job, which is showing you all of the different characters' skills and shit. Overall, good new anime. I'm gonna keep watching it. Alright, so next show I started watching is Kaiju No. 8. And this one's not really fair because I'm more inclined to not like this show because I've already read the manga. I know that sounds weird hearing it, but I don't really work the same way a lot of people do. I'm not super excited to see anime of manga I've already read because I already know what's gonna happen, so I'm really just watching it to see how they do the animation of the show. To me personally, the show just kind of loses something when I know the direction it's gonna go without really any variation whatsoever. Having said that, this is really good. The animation is gorgeous, the music is really cool. They went in a much cooler direction than I thought they were gonna go with it, and all the main characters, especially Kafka, is really, really well done. And while currently we're only 5 episodes in, so we haven't seen any like really big over-the-top fights, like I said, I have read the manga, and if they keep the animation up to this quality when those fights kick off, you're gonna see some seriously cool shit. I personally believe that this show sits in that sweet spot that's just mainstream enough to be picked up and enjoyed by a lot of people, while dealing with complex enough themes to still be considered like a really good piece of art. And it would not surprise me at all if this show kicked off in the same way that My Hero kicked off in its first season. And also, I mean, it's Earth Defense Force the anime. How could you not like Earth Defense Force the anime? What a cool fucking concept for a show. Moving on to the third show I decided to watch, Re-Monster. So clearly I'm late to the party, but there is an awful lot of isekai shows in the anime community at the moment. I mean, when I was looking through the list of anime, it seemed like a solid third of all the shows were just straight up isekai shows. God damn, dude, it was so many fucking shows. So I said, okay, I'll check out one of the isekais and see what all the fuss is about. So I decided to check out one that like just recently started premiering. It only has 6 episodes, and that is Re-Monster. And it is okay. It's fine. There's some cool shit about it, and there's some not really cool shit about it. If I had to describe it, I would say that it's the love child between Overlord and reincarnated as a slime. That's kind of the basic feel. So out of curiosity, I decided to look it up, and I realized, oh shit, the light novel that this anime is based on predates both of those series, and both of those series creators have come out and said that they inspired their stories from Re-Monster. Okay, that explains a lot. So you're probably gonna watch this thinking that it's pretty generic isekai, but that's sort of because it's one of the fathers of the isekai genre. And me not having really dove into the isekai genre all that much means that I could basically watch it with fresh eyes without being like super annoyed by all of the generic shit that's in it that became generic after this series released. Having said that, it's still not the best, but not for the reasons that I think people would think that I would say it's not the best. It's not because of generic stuff, and it's not because of all of the really weird sex shit. I've heard people in the past judge shows very harshly based on them not showing things like rape or slavery or sexual assault in a respectful light. Like, they'll show it in a joking way, or they'll use it as nothing more than a plot point to push the story forward and not really stop to take the time to talk about how serious it is. I don't subscribe to that in any way, shape, or form. I don't care about that, to be perfectly honest with you. And this is coming from somebody who had shit happen to them when they were themselves a little boy. So this isn't me just lacking empathy for other people because I've never experienced it. The fact of the matter is that it doesn't make sense to me that you can have murder in your show, movie, game, whatever, and you can be as who gives a shit as possible. You can make it funny, you can make it crass, you can blow people up, it's whatever, murder's perfectly fine. But then when you start talking about something like sexual assault, all of a sudden the rules change, even though sexual assault is nowhere near as bad as murder, because you know murder leads to someone's death, right? Like, that's what murder is. So while ReZero does have a lot of things like sex slavery and rape and things like this, that doesn't actually bother me. I'm aware that this is a male power fantasy. The females in this show are really only used for the main character to either rescue or sleep with. That doesn't bother me any more than like Barbie's existence and the man-hating shit bothers me. I just don't care. You could write a story about anything and you could put anything in a story that you want. I'm not gonna suddenly like deem it unacceptable. I don't care. My issue with this story is the way it's told. It's not told in a traditional sense. The story is based on a light novel, and the light novel is written in a first-person perspective as the main character basically narrates everything that's happening. The show is written in the exact same way. The entire show, all 6 episodes that I've seen so far, everything that happens is being narrated by the main character, and there's sort of this disconnect between you and what's happening. The show never slows down to have the main character build a relationship with the people around him. He'll just say directly in narration that I became friends with this person, and then the story will continue on. In the first 6 episodes of the anime, like 70 something days pass because the show actually counts every day that happens, and they explain what happens that day. It almost feels like instead of experiencing a story, you're getting a summary of a story through like reading a guy's journal or something. I don't feel a connection to any of the characters here. None of them. Because the show never slows down enough for me to actually get to know any of them. Even the main character of the story, whose perspective you see the entire story through, you don't know really anything about. Because all of his narration is about what he does next. It's not about who he is as a person. Like, I don't know why he's doing most of the things he's doing. He seems ambitious, like he's constantly moving forward to acquire things, but I don't know why he feels the need to do this. The narration is literally just a list of tasks that he does and what he's thinking while he's doing them. That's just not enough. I don't know if I'll stick with this one. I'm gonna keep it up for a little bit longer, but eventually I'm gonna need some kind of character work put into this show, and as of right now, I don't have any. So last anime on the list we're gonna be talking about is Viral Hit, and this is probably the one I'm the most split on because it does one thing I think really, really well, and it does another thing not nearly as well that I think it needs to do better. So what it does well is the theme. It has very strong themes that pretty much every scene in the show so far has pushed these themes forward, and it explores them in interesting ways. Like, it touches on the two-faced nature of online culture and how people who you know and you see on YouTube and different online sources will put forward some kind of fake persona, but in real life they're totally different people. The theme of fame whoring and just what people are willing to do in order to acquire fame and money. Showing in a mostly realistic way what it's like to stand up to a bully for the first time, and the thoughts and feelings that rush through your head when you're doing what seems like the most terrifying thing you could possibly do in that moment. All of these things are done really well. But in my personal opinion, I think the thing that it does poorly is more important, and that's the characters. I don't actually know that much about the vast majority of these characters. The show is so preoccupied with pushing forward the themes of the story that it never allows the characters to just sit and communicate with one another so that we get to explore them as characters and watch their relationships grow. That kind of stuff just seems sort of rushed through and brushed aside. As of right now in the show, I don't really buy any of the relationships. The main character, Haben, and his relationship with his love interest, Bomi, really just starts because of one kind act, and from that point on, she's just very interested in him, and we haven't really seen anything else from him towards her that would make us believe that she would be into him. Like, apparently she really enjoys texting him, and he's like great at texting her, but we don't really see much of those conversations to know why she likes him so much because of the texting. And then when they meet in person, he barely even talks to her, which does become an issue in their relationship, but pointing out that the issue is there doesn't really make the issue go away. Their relationship is just kind of built on something very flimsy. Haben's closest relationship with the blonde-haired guy, I'm forgetting his name, is the most interesting at first since they really seem to hate each other. But then when they eventually become friends in episode 6, it happens because of some miscommunication, not because they actually spent the time to build up a genuine friendship. And Haben himself, we only really know him on a very surface level. We know that he's bullied constantly, we know that he's a nervous wreck, we know that he's filled with self self-pity and probably self-hatred, but that's really it. We just know how his life sucks and how he suffered. We don't really understand him as a person. When it comes to the introduction of an anime protagonist, I generally compare all introductions to Yu Yu Hakusho, because I think Yu Yu Hakusho's episode 1 and its introduction of Yusuke Urameshi is probably the best one I've ever seen. The whole first episode pretty much ignores the main plot of the show entirely and is completely spent on getting you to understand who Yusuke Urameshi is as a person. By the end of that pilot, you have no idea what the show is going to eventually end up being about. But you understand the main character so much and you like him so much, it doesn't really matter. You just want to watch this character interact with the world more. And they do it for more than Yusuke. Yusuke, Kuwabara, the principal of the school, there's quite a few characters that get really solid character moments in just the pilot. The pilot's basically just filled with character moments. 6 episodes into Viral Hit, and we really haven't gotten anything substantial on any of the characters. We just keep getting iterated over and over that Hobin's life sucks. I get it. His life sucks. He's bullied. He doesn't like himself. I get it. You don't have to keep reiterating the same thing to us. Show us something new. Give us a legitimately good character moment between him and somebody else. And I haven't really seen that much about it. I'm not dropping this one. I'm gonna still watch it, but if by the end of the season I still am not really into the characters all that much, I probably won't stop by for season 2. But if really solid character work is something that you don't really care that much about, and you're just here for the fights and the really well done themes, then you might not care. Just, watch it. You'll probably like it. And that's all for me today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, I want to apologize for the next couple of weeks where I will not really be able to give you guys what I'm normally able to give, but it's only for a couple of weeks. So see you guys next time, and y'all stay safe out there, you hear?